Ram's 2026 NASCAR Truck Series entry got leaked. 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsport, they got really bad news after their injunction was overturned. Plus, Connor Zilisch, he's getting 2 more Cup Series races. Does that mean anything for 2026? Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Just when you thought it was a pretty slow news week, nothing really happening, we're going to ease into Michigan here, it's going to be all right, all of a sudden Wednesday night into Thursday, bam, 2 big stories hitting you like a backstretch wall in Las Vegas. Just massive stories that came out of NASCAR this week. We'll start off with the leak, the first one that has got the internet talking on Thursday morning, and that coming from Ram, whose 2026 NASCAR Truck Series entry got leaked to the internet on Wednesday night, technically Thursday morning. It came from a YouTube channel. That YouTube video is down, but of course everybody got some screenshots from it, and it is the 2026 Ram 1500 entry that will be racing in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. I reached out to a few people on Thursday morning. They confirmed that yes, that is in fact the truck that you will see on track next year. So that's what it's going to look like. Nothing crazy, exactly kind of what you expected it to look like there. It looks like a Ram front end. It says Ram across the grill. It's a Ram truck, but nonetheless, having a fourth manufacturer is very, very cool. Now, there's probably 2 questions that everybody's going to ask. 1, Matt, when is it going to be announced? And 2, who is going to be driving it? Let's start off with when it's going to be announced. So Ram does have an announcement scheduled for June 8th. Just so happens NASCAR is racing in Michigan this weekend as well. And if you want to connect the dots here, you can go ahead and do that. You're going to probably get this NASCAR announcement. You're also going to get the announcement that, Hemi's V8s are going back into Ram trucks, and that the TRX is going to get another high output V8 engine that's probably going to make 700 and something horsepower, because who doesn't need that in a pickup truck? So expect some big announcements coming out of Ram in the next couple of days. What's today, the 5th? Yeah, so you got a couple days for the formal announcement to come out here. Now, the next question, who is going to be driving this truck? Well, there's a lot of information, a lot of speculation rather, that's going around the internet. A lot of people keep saying that ThorSport's going to join Dodge. It's ThorSport. That's what everybody in the comments is saying on TikTok. Everybody in the comments on Twitter is saying it's not going to be ThorSport. Yes, they have had all 3 manufacturers at one point or another. They've been a Chevy team, they've been a Toyota team, they've been a Ford team. They're currently a Ford team. Don't expect them to become a Dodge team, at least not for 2026. As for other teams out there, there's some information around, but nothing that's concrete yet. Obviously, some names that keep getting thrown around. You see Spencer Gallagher. I'd be very surprised to see Spencer Gallagher kind of get into a truck, into a Dodge truck for next year, at least on a full-time basis. But yeah, I wouldn't put too much into that one there. Cleese McFarland's name has been tossed around again. If you're a manufacturer, having him on your short list makes a lot of sense, and why one of the 4 manufacturers in NASCAR hasn't already done a brand deal with him is kind of mind-boggling to me, unless they don't want to do one on the Cletus side of thing, which, hey, maybe they don't want to. But from a marketing standpoint at Ram, if you're coming into NASCAR again, yeah, that'd be a really, really smart marketing buy for them. So we'll see what happens there. Other names that kind of get tossed around, it's nothing that's concrete yet. So yeah, I wouldn't put a ton of, emphasis into some of the rumors that have been out there so far. I think, might be surprised by maybe 1 or 2 names that have been floating around. But until I get more information on that, I don't want to give it to you guys, because I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, he said so-and-so is going to go over here, and they ended up not doing that. Remember Kevin Harvick to the 5? It's confirmed he's going to replace Casey Kane. And that dude was super emphatic that it was happening. Yeah, guess what? Didn't happen. So the Ram truck got leaked. Didn't call it Dodge this time. Called it Ram. That's what it is. We'll see more of it when it's formally announced, which should be pretty soon. NASCAR picked up a big-time win on Thursday when the 4th Circuit of Appeals, the panel that heard their request to overturn the injunction, ruled in favor of NASCAR. They have overturned that injunction that 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsport received from Judge Kenneth Bell that allowed them to race in NASCAR with their charters, getting paid as charter teams with a guaranteed starting spot. That has now been overturned. And if you're wondering what that means, it means that NASCAR could rescind those charters, force those teams to qualify as open vehicles and pay them as open vehicles, not as charter teams. And that is the big time hit, the financial hit that would come to those teams. Now, the teams have 14 days to apply for basically an appeal of the appeal, the overturned appeal that was won by NASCAR. After that, there's basically 7 days until the court could hear it. So basically, it's a 3-week process as well. I wouldn't expect NASCAR to take those charters away as of yet. I think they're going to let this, process, this 3-week process sort of play out here and see where it goes. But this is big time news for 2311 Racing and for Motorsport, because you're taking away a big time revenue stream for them. Now, if you remember back, Judge Kenneth Bell did award the teams this injunction to race with this because basically the teams were like, they were emphatic that they have to have these charters to race, mainly because they have sponsorship agreements and driver contracts that state that they have to have a charter in order for them to, 1, be a part of that race team as the driver, or 2, for the sponsorship in order to get paid. And Judge Bell sided with them. The panel, when we heard this hearing back, at the beginning of May, they seemed to be more on the NASCAR side of things and saying that Judge Bell basically ruled on something that they didn't read the law sort of the same way there. So back in December, Judge Kenneth Bell basically said that the release of claims provision that was in the charter agreement violated antitrust laws. And now on Thursday, the panel in the appeals court basically disagreed with everything that he said there, saying, quote, that theory of antitrust law is not supported by any case of which we are aware. And you kind of had a feeling that's the direction it was going because they grilled Jeffrey Kessler, the lawyer representing the teams, pretty hard back on the hearing. I believe that was on May 9th. And you kind of had a feeling that this is the direction it's going to go. So for now, as it stands, NASCAR does have the right, assuming that this overturned appeal does withstand any potential appeal that the teams are going to, go after in the next 14 days, they will be allowed to pull those charters back. They will be allowed to pay them as open teams and force them to qualify for races, not guarantee them a starting spot. Now, there's probably going to be a lot of questions coming out of this. 1, can they still race for a championship? Yes. In fact, if they do qualify for the playoffs, they are guaranteed a starting spot in those final 10 races. So you can kind of weigh it as it is right now for 2311 Racing having 2 cars that will be in the playoffs as it currently stands. That is a spot for them. And they kind of know that, hey, at least 2 of our cars are guaranteed starting spots. What happens to those charters? Well, basically the injunction required NASCAR to recognize the sale of the charters from SHR over to these teams. SHR doesn't exist anymore. They don't have the capability of fielding 3 NASCAR Cup Series teams, 2 in addition to Cole Custer, as it currently stands with the Haas factory team. I would imagine that NASCAR is going to just pull all of those charters back and hold them. Obviously, this is all pending the outcome of the trial, which has a trial start date of December 1st. That leads me into the next point here. Everybody is going to say that this is a big time win for NASCAR, that Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin have lost, everything like that. That's not true. This is basically just putting them back to exactly where they were before, all of the back and forth started. So the teams won their injunction, right? Back in December, they were granted, the ability to race in NASCAR with their charters and everything like that. Great. Now, this basically takes them back to where they were at before they got the injunction. So it kind of is a clean slate, back to zero. Now they still have the trial, like I said, coming up in December. They're still in the discovery period and everything that goes along with that. And then from the team side of things, their lawyer, Jeffrey Kessler, did release a statement on Thursday, fully expected him to, and he says, quote, we are disappointed by today's ruling by the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, and we are reviewing the decision to determine our next steps. This ruling is based on a very narrow consideration of whether a release of claims in the charter agreement is anti-competitive and does not impact our chances of winning at trial scheduled for December 1st. We remain confident in our case and committed to racing for the entirety of the season as we continue our fight to create a fair and just economic system for stock car racing that is free of anti-competitive monopolistic conduct. Okay, fully expected that type of reaction out of him. Yeah, he is right. They still have the December 1st trial coming up. They still can very much win that. I wouldn't put a lot of weight into the decision of the appeals court versus Judge Kenneth Bell in this situation here. Hey, they're committed to running the rest of the season. It will be interesting to see what happens coming out of this court date, whether NASCAR wins or 2311 wins, what sort of the future of these race teams are and sort of the their future within NASCAR. Because, hey, if the teams lose and NASCAR wins this court date, and say Tyler Reddick has an exit clause because he requires a charter, that is the chaos that will hit the NASCAR driver market this offseason. And that is a driver that teams will absolutely try to make room for, and somebody could get cut in a situation like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But right now, NASCAR got a big win, and we got basically the next 3 weeks to see how this is going to play out. Last topic of the day, we got news on Wednesday that Connor Zilisch has had 2 more NASCAR Cup Series races added to his 2025 schedule. He made his NASCAR Cup Series debut back at Circuit of the Americas at the beginning of the season. Then he made another start at the Coke 600 a couple weeks ago, got a 23rd place finish there. And now we found out that he's going to make 2 more starts, one in Atlanta at the end of this month, and then another one later this summer at Watkins Glen, of course, the site of his first ever NASCAR Xfinity start, which is also the site of his first ever NASCAR Xfinity Series win last year. And now he's going back to that track to do double duty. And it certainly has sparked, some people around the internet to get talking, because one of the biggest questions, and maybe really the only question in silly season right now, is what does Trackhouse do? They have 4 drivers. They have 3 seats. One of those drivers is in a contract year. Do they move on from Daniel Suarez and put Connor Zilisch in that car? Or do they cut SVG after 1 year like he's Zane Smith, put Connor Zilisch in that car? And I think you have to look at those 3 drivers and weigh all of them against one another. Do any of them do anything better than the other one? Do any of them have a racetrack or a style of track that they can absolutely go out there and contend for a win on every single time they go to that style track, or do they not? And I think for Trackhouse right now, this is where it gets very difficult, because Daniel Suarez starting 30th in points, SVG 33rd in points. I don't know if you can look at Suarez right now and look at Connor Zilisch and say that Suarez does X, amount of races better than what Connor Zilisch can do. And I think that you can argue that Connor Zilisch can absolutely go out there and get you a win on a road course in the Cup Series, where Suarez does have a win on a road course in the Cup Series. I'm not taking that away from him, but I think that Zilisch can give you that more consistent chance. Same thing with Shane Van Gisbergen. SVG has a very big 4 weeks or 6 weeks coming up, rather. He's got 3 road courses coming up: Mexico, Sonoma, Chicago, and even Watkins Glen before the playoffs start. If he wins one of those races, he's into the playoffs. That's an extra $2 to $3 million a year. And if he can do that every year in the regular season, then yeah, you absolutely hold on to him. For Suarez, he's very up and down. It's like riding a roller coaster with him. He had a lot of speed at the beginning of the year. Unfortunately, got taken out in some other people's incidents, or like a curb took him out at COTA when he was running in the top 10. So bad luck on his side of things. At the same time, maybe hasn't capitalized when he's needed to. So he's in a contract year. Do you bring him back for another year, or do you put Zilisch in that seat, who you have a multi-year contract with, and you can, assume that is Connor Zilisch going to be better than 30th in points? I think that's what you have to look at. And I would say, yeah, same thing with 33rd. I'm just giving SVG the pass in the situation because we know that he's going to be contender when we get to the road courses. There's not necessarily a style of track when we go to, or we're like, Daniel Suarez is going to be a contender here. And if there was, I would love to say it. It's just kind of the, nature of the beast right now for him. So I would side with maybe replacing him with Zilisch. But if they want to let it ride, leave Zilisch down in the Xfinity Series for another year, keep Suarez for another year, SVG in the 88 for another year, I can completely get behind that. I completely understand that, and I would have 0 problem with that as well. But if you want to cut one of those drivers and not have to deal with this problem again in 2026, I think you side with letting Suarez go, and then you put Zilisch in the car. Now, obviously, always going to come down to funding and everything else that goes along with that. But just from a pure numbers standpoint, I think that's probably the way I would lean right now. So let me know in the comments what you think about the RAM leak, the injunction getting overturned, Connor Zilisch. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.